All right. So once again, another quick unboxing video. But I thought this might be interesting because I got a very, very, very good deal on them because there was an eBay coupon, and because these are very much damaged D&D booster bricks. So we'll open the one that's damaged just to see if it was. I mean, as you can see here, it's actually not as bad. When I saw this, I assumed this was actually going to be a lot worse, but you can see, like, cosmetically it's pretty bad, but honestly, it's just the one. It's just the one. So this was about $60 because it was very much on sale because it was damaged and there was an extra 20% coupon. Hello, everybody. So yeah, lots of cosmetic damage. However, it seems to be only the one booster is beat up. So that's the one that we're going to open and see if it was damaged enough to hurt any of the miniatures. So let's see here. No luck finding any rare older miniatures, unfortunately. I think I had really good luck with that box of metal miniatures, but I have not found anything since. So let's see here. Yeah, this was squished pretty good. If you look here, you can see that's kind of what it's supposed to be normally. So obviously I'm not exactly sure what happened to this, but it got mashed up pretty bad. And it looked pretty natural. I know in the past there have been people that have actually resealed miniature products and then sold them as quote-unquote damaged, but they're actually not damaged. That was a case where there was some unscrupulous people pretty much taking all the super rare miniatures out and then selling the reboxed miniatures with the less valuable miniatures in there. So but this honestly looks like it was something very heavy was dropped on there, man. So let's just take a look and see. Boy, this would, you know what would be the worst? What would be the absolute worst if we opened this up and it was like this super rare Ultralisk and it was just destroyed beyond repair. That would be heartbreaking because that's a really expensive miniature. But no, looks like we have another Stone Giant Dream Walker, and obviously this is one of those miniatures still on its base. It might be bent a little bit, but frankly this is perfectly fine. So well, this is kind of like King Tut's tomb here. We're not getting in anything too interesting. Let's take a look here. We got one of these nice, excellent, like, oh, I forget the name of this. Now they're called Death Dogs, and I forget if Death Dogs are just automatically supposed to have two heads like this. But that's a nice miniature. Certainly can use another one of those. And of course that one is 100% not broken. We have a humanoid figure here. And looks like this was beaten up a little bit, but the Dragonborn figure here is not damaged either. So that's not too horrible. And then finally we have a Vampire Spawn. That's pretty interesting. Actually, let me see here. I think oh no! See, I gotta organize my drawers, but everything's falling over so easily. So the old Hasbro one. That's the old Hasbro. It's interesting. This is more of the Hasbro one, dressed up in some sort of, obviously, leather armor. Which I think I might have touched this one up because this was a factory since I ever got. Which obviously were leftovers. So this is an old Vampire Spawn, and this is the new take on it, which is nice. Not a bad miniature. I, of course, could touch this one up as well. But this is more of along the lines of what you assume, Vampire Spawn. Kind of a weak vampire that was just sort of recently raised from the earth. So, happy enough with that. So yeah, that damaged one. There was no damaged miniatures at all. But now, let us go to our second damaged miniature. Where I guess I lied. I haven't recently. This is something I've had for a long time. So this was a damaged box from the Aberrations booster pack, which I've had for a while. Because the box is, it was so squished, there's no point in keeping it for collector's purposes. So with these Hasbro miniatures, I pretty much guarantee there's going to be absolutely no damaged miniatures in here. Because the Hasbro miniatures are 100%, like, you can't damage them. So let's see if we get anything good. All right. So we have the classic kind of medium-sized creature here, who is this obviously is a specific NPC of some sort. I don't know. I've never seen that before. The name Rook. I'm assuming that's some sort of NPC character. We could get out the cards if we wished. Ooh, here we go. This is always a lovely figure to find. This is the Sharn Cutthroat. And so, yeah, nice. Classic. Okay, so these are classic Hasbro figures from, about 2008, I assume. And the paint jobs were always terrible, but the miniatures were, like, indestructible because of the plastic used. So, bad paint jobs, but indestructible miniatures. Oh, and this! We have something I love. I love these guys. We have... Yes, we have not only a dire weasel, but a fiendish dire weasel, which is a nice little miniature of a weasel with spike frills here. Happy with that. Very cool. We have, I believe this is a little mongrel folk guy. Yes, mongrel folk. And you have the little mongrel folk guy there with his little club and wooden shield. Pretty cool miniature. Oh, we have a tiny little... Now, you don't see... these are... I'm not sure... but this is a silent wolf goblin. And this is the first time I've ever held this miniature. You don't see many of the red-tinged goblins. I'm not sure if they're, like, from a specific setting. But, yeah, no, this is the first time I've ever seen this miniature in person. So, a silent wolf goblin. So, obviously, wow, this is actually back in 2004. Yeah. Wow, I was way off. 2004, silent wolf goblin. Pretty cool sculpt. Obviously, some washes or better painting on the metallics would be interesting, but a very nice miniature regardless. First time I've seen that. Very cool. Ooh, we have another cool miniature here. I love these guys. These are the Apemen thing. And I never know how to pronounce them, but they're the Taer. T-A-E-R. And these are always horrific because the way these miniatures were painted, it looks like he just doesn't have any teeth. And he's just screaming out, and it's just this empty, horrible red mouth. It's terrifying. He is supposed to have teeth, and you can, of course, paint his teeth and make him look... But I always like the looks of these things just because they look so horrific with this just red mouth going... And he's actually got a pretty nice club. He must have stolen this from an adventurer because this is it's an iron shod club here, which I'm not sure if Taurs are intelligent or not. Pretty cool miniature, of course. You could run this thing over with a car and it wouldn't damage it, but of course it's not the good in quality. You got the big gaps here and stuff, and they didn't really care too much to make this look like one piece. So that's what you're gonna get with the Hasbro miniatures. They're gonna look pretty good on the table. So that's the thing, though. You're not gonna be looking at this guy like this close up. You're gonna be looking at this guy when he's on the table about that far away. And he looks fine on the table from that far away. Let's take a look here. Ooh, look at there. We have another one of these guys. I believe this is some sort of... I want to say shifter. No, it's a long-tooth barbarian. Long-tooth barbarian. And I believe these are supposed to be some sort of, if not, they're not wearer, but they're some sort of weird barbarian animal hybrid thing. So that's pretty cool. And we have another miniature that I've never seen before. And I've never had in my collection. It's a humanoid figure. This is a skull splitter. I'm not sure. It's a rare, apparently. That's interesting. He's evil, which is nice to know. But, yeah. Black leather armor. And, yeah, pretty basic. Pretty basic, but definitely, I've not seen this miniature before. This could definitely work in well as probably an NPC. Or perhaps an enemy bandit character or something like that. See, this one is very nicely done. I can't see, they actually put a little bit of wash on the axe here, so it looks a little bit better. And that's it. Now, this was back in the day when you had the miniatures pack here, and there was no guarantee to get a large miniature at all. Obviously, there were large miniatures in this pack. You could see there was a Yong-Ti abomination, and back then that was a large creature on a large base. But we did not get any large miniatures in that pack. We got a small miniature, and the rest were all medium. So, yeah, I mean, I would still say that even though you're not guaranteed a large miniature with these, I would still say that's pretty good. Because, again, you were getting 8 miniatures for, a decent price. Again, I got this, I did not pay a lot of money for this. I think it's going for about 20... I want to say like $22 to $24 on eBay for the Aberrations pack. So that's not awful, considering you do get 8 miniatures. And again, the good thing about the Hasbro miniatures is that they're built to last. And, with something like this, if we compare the Vampire Spawn from the newer set, this is from Monster Menagerie 3, you can tell just by feeling this miniature. If you were just to put this loose in a case with a bunch of other miniatures and travel back and forth to a bunch of cons or a bunch of games, this thing stands a good chance of breaking. Whereas the old Hasbro Spawn, this thing has clearly been through the ringer multiple times, and it won't break. The rubbery material on this is like, you can do stuff to this that would just destroy any other miniature, and it's not going to break. So you can throw this in a big bin and take them to your game and not worry about them being broke. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, I'm going to check chat real quick. Do you know where I can find base for miniatures? Yes, you can search Warhammer bases on eBay. That is the best way to do it. That actually reminds me, I just did that. And I got so you see this many bases here? I got a bunch of loose bases. There's a box of slotted bases. There's a bunch of unslotted bases in there. And I got even more bases. And I just got these in from eBay. And that was like $10 for those 2 bags. And I actually got a bunch of the flight bases, which was an interesting little bit. So I got a bunch of the flight bases on eBay. And what I did with those is that regrettably, and I say regrettably, I think I actually contributed to the end of the boom of how was I going to say it? The boom of factory seconds, Chinese factory seconds on eBay. I think I attributed to that. Because what I did is when I found those bases, the reason I bought the flying bases was because I got a bunch of factory second miniatures on eBay, which I then rebased using the Warhammer flying bases, which I got for super cheap, just on a lot on eBay. So, Paradigm. These are the evil bird stag creatures that eat people's hearts. And then I got a bunch of Pegasus miniatures, which I rebased. These came from China with no bases at all, and I used the Warhammer Fantasy. I just drilled a little hole into the miniature And bing, bada boom. Now I have a bunch of Pegasi and Paradons I can use for my game. So, yes. Let's see here. If there's any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, I think I'm going to say goodbye for the evening. I did find a really nice deal on Miniature Market when they were having one of their sales. I found this ruined farmhouse. And, boy, I really wish... I did buy this. I don't regret buying it. However, if you're interested in getting, modular stuff like that, really take a look at Black Magic Craft's newest video. I think he did an amazing job of talking about making new stuff with his modular, like, cavern stuff. It's really nice. So if you're interested in doing some terrain like that, that would be a thing. Now, because even though this was like, I have actually went out and I primed this today because it was just so nice. So I put this all together and I primed it. And I used both glue and cement, or whatever the, well, shoot, now I forget what the proper name for it is. But just the regular, just the regular super glue and then the rubber cement stuff that bonds this stuff together. It's really nice. It's resin. There's a lot of detail. It's really cool. But I did have to pay $16 for the two little buildings here. But you do get a lot of like nice little detailed stuff. $16 on clearance. So you get this little ruined bit of farmhouse, and you get this big farmhouse with the 2 levels. Really interesting stuff. You can do a lot of cool stuff with this train, but it's just $68. You still had to pay $16. The 90. Okay, so if I misspoke in the video, I'm sorry, but the 90% rubbing alcohol, I found that super cheap in the drugstore, and it was just the I don't even know if it was a name brand thing. I think it was just a regular brand. But no, 99% rubbing alcohol. I don't think I'll be able to find that anywhere. Let's take a look here. Yeah, no, it was actually 91%. So this was just actually like in a drugstore. 91% rubbing alcohol. Very cool. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of stuff with stripping stuff with LA Awesome. LA Awesome's super cool. And I actually stripped a bunch of miniatures that I had previously primed, which something went wrong with the priming, so the primer was just scraping off super easily. So I stripped it with LA Awesome, and the old D&D board game miniatures actually got a little bit rubberier after soaking the LA Awesome. So I think with the LA Awesome, you really don't want to leave that stuff. You don't want to leave your miniatures soaking in the LA Awesome for like over, that was like 3 days, and the plastic started to get rubbery. So that's probably no good. So if you're dealing with LA Awesome, metal miniatures, I think you can leave in there for a long time. It's not going to matter. But with plastic miniatures, especially the plastic from cheaper stuff, then yeah. Yeah, any drugstore should have the 70%, and they should have the 91% isopropyl alcohol. You can also get it in dollar stores. So if you don't have good luck at the drugstore, go to your local dollar store, and they should have bottles of it as well. I don't think you necessarily have to use this strong stuff. You can use the 70% stuff, and I think that works out just as fine. I haven't had a chance to test that fully yet. Any tips for a site to find orcs or goblins? Pre-painted ones, no. Unpainted ones, EM4 has those nice old school orcs, EM4 orcs. Reaper Bones obviously has some nice cheap orcs. Augie's Games, no, they don't sell the orcs individually anymore. Where else is it? I mean, there's a lot of different places you can get orcs from. Yeah, I guess it depends. You can get the Kings of War stuff. Now, you used to be able to get the Kings of War like little boxes like this. Wait a second, just another quick question. Did you test the rubbing alcohol, quick wash, overnight versus overnight? No, I have only ever done it overnight at a minimum. So I have not tested the Reaper Bones just doing a quick. No, I have. Yes. I think overnight gives you a little bit better. I believe, yeah, overnight pretty much gives you. Yeah, overnight gives you the better result, I believe. It just seems like, certainly if you are in a hurry, doing the rubbing alcohol, just quick wash, I think will certainly help. But yeah, I mean, do your own experimentation with that. But I believe you really do need to soak it for at least a couple hours. At least a couple hours on the Reaper Bones, at least. Now, if you're talking about any other miniature other than Reaper Bones, I think that if you're just, using the rubbing alcohol to wash them before you prime them, then you don't need to. You can just do a quick wash and just make sure the rubbing alcohol has completely dried before you prime them. But Reaper Bones, I really suggest that you soak the Reaper Bones in the rubbing alcohol for at least a couple hours. So again, back to orcs and goblins. You used to be able to get these Kings of War packs on eBay for super cheap. So this was a really great, awesome thing. I love these guys. I always have a couple of these painted up, but I'm always using them, so I never can show them off. Yeah, they're going to be in boxes because I'm using them for a game. So, is there one out? There is not. So yeah, no, these Kings of War stuff is really good, and the goblins too. So if you're looking for goblins, they do sell the packs of sharp sticks, where you can make these actually into a combination of you can make these into a combination of because these come with actually metal parts and plastic parts. So the plastic parts are just the goblins' bowmen. So they have bows. You used to be able to get these super cheap. Now, you might not be able to get these cheap anymore, but what you might be able to get is an army of greenskins for the Kings of War, and that will give you a nice selection of both orcs and goblins. Now, you'll have to do a lot of searching on eBay to see if you can find something cheap. I would say it depends on how many you need. If you need an army of these guys for your games, then that's a thing. But yeah, you used to be able to get these single pack cheaps, cheap, not anymore. So again, maybe consider if you're getting like perhaps an army from eBay. Other than that, the Magic the Gathering game came with some, goblin-looking guys too. But I haven't actually painted those up, so I don't know how good those are. But yeah, goblins. Whatever you do, these Caesar goblins are very, very, very tiny, so maybe avoid them. So wow, I already got 26 people. And I'm not providing you with any decent content at all, I'm just talking. So if anybody else has any other quick questions, let me know. Otherwise, I am going to end this stream. As I'm waiting to see if anybody has a question, I'll quick show off what I just protected tonight. This was the array of miniatures that I just went through and spray coated some protective varnish on. And then I also coated them with some flat back. Yes, that's a very good point. Legends of Drizzt has the official D&D goblins from the Hasbro molds. So those are very nice goblins. A lot of personality with those. Yep, so these were all the miniatures. These are the miniatures that I painted on stream that one time, and then my challenge miniature where I tried to paint 10 miniatures. This guy here, Artemis the Assassin here, this guy here was actually, this is from the D&D board game too, I believe, Legend of Drizzt. What is the best primer for pewter miniatures? As you know, I deal with cheap miniatures a lot, so not a lot of pewter miniatures, but I have been using Army Painter Primer for those. And before... so Army Painter Primer, that's what I've been using. What miniature figures are you currently playing with? Right now, I am running a game which has a bunch of Kuthrix and stuff. So if we take a look at my handy-dandy game case here... we can see that we have a bunch of Kuthrix miniatures, which have are rebased on Warhammer things. We have a whole bunch of these Dreamblade miniatures, which I'm using as Skulk miniatures. And that's about it. So just generally the same sort of miniatures. And I've been using one of these Skylanders creation crystals. I'm going to do a video about that because these are like $1 everywhere now. So yeah, as you can see, a wide variety of both pre-painted and miniatures that I painted myself. So a bunch of different stuff I'm using for my current game. Wow, nice. Those miniatures look great. I wish I could start getting into miniature painting. How to start? I think the best way to start is to either get some Knowles Ears miniatures. These don't need priming. They come pre-primed. You can just paint them out the pack without much of an issue. Some people like to do prep on these with, like, sanding them down with a little bit of files and stuff. But those are good ones. You can just start painting. You can get the cheap craft brushes. You can find these at Michael's. These are camel hair. Now, when you're first starting out, you might be tempted to get these super cheap brushes that are synthetic brushes. Don't get those. Get the camel hair brushes like these. They're still super cheap. You can get like this pack for, like, if you get the coupon, I believe an entire huge pack of these is like $7. And the natural hair brushes will make painting miniatures just better. I'm not exactly sure why. I think it's just because of the consistency of the acrylic paint. You can get some less expensive acrylic paint. See here, there's a bunch of different stuff like that. You can get the Craft Smart stuff. Water it down a very little bit. Just add a couple drops of water into the paint you're using. Or right now on Amazon, one of the biggest things is the Reaper Learn to Paint kit. So if you're really interested in Reaper Bones, the Reaper Learn to Paint kit, it's going to look like this box here. This isn't the Learn to Paint kit. This is this is one of the things. But the Learn to Paint kit is about $30 right now. It comes with a couple, I believe 3 miniatures and a bunch of paint and instructions on how to get started. That's a very good option as well. Let's see here. What do you think of multi-classing? I'm making later with 3 levels and going in Gloomstalker, then changing to Road Scout for the rest of the levels. Any thoughts? I have not multi-classed much. I've had a few opportunities to be a player, so I know that if it makes sense for your character, then go ahead and do it. It seems like doing a rogue slash ranger would be a really good idea. Black Magic Craft does have a very simple guide for miniature painting. You should definitely watch that. That's one of the best guides I've seen for talking about miniature painting and whatnot. Buy a paint bottle from a craft store, cheap pack of paints and brushes, slowly get better paints and brushes as you go. That's very good. That's a very good thing there. If you want to get craft store paint, that's perfectly fine. I've seen people do amazing stuff with craft store paint. The miniature paint is expensive, so you might want to, when you're first starting out, you might want to start it with craft paint. Cheap Goliath miniature. Oh boy, cheap Goliath miniature. There aren't many out there. Stone Child, maybe. Look at Google search Stone Child for the old Hasbro miniature. That would make a good Goliath miniature. What's my favorite miniature of them all? I would have to be my Owlbear miniature. I love this little guy. I sculpted him myself, and he's got a lot of personality, and he's a really cool miniature. And I'm glad I sculpted him. He's my favorite miniature. Let's see here. I've been hunting for a good female Goliath Barbarian for 6 months. Hard to find something at scale 7+ feet. Very good. If there's a female Goliath miniature out there, I am unaware of it. Perhaps there is some company out there that does a specialized thing, but I have never seen a female Goliath character off the top of my brain. So, yeah. And then finally, I picked up some Rising Sun miniatures. Any other board games that you like to pick up miniatures for, looking for more to paint? If you're looking for more to paint and you're doing D&D, look into right now the Amazon D&D board games are around $47 each. You get about 40 to 41 miniatures, including large miniatures and huge miniatures. That's a lot of really cool. One of my favorite miniatures, I believe this also comes from the Drist one. This is the troll guy here. These were always really fun to paint, and I still love painting these. So the official D&D board game stuff, you can kind of just do some Google searches online to see which one has the miniatures that you'd like to paint. Yeah, Two Turtles and Drits. It's a really cool set. I love that set. It's a lot of cool stuff. Any E3 games you're excited for? I mean, I'm the kind of guy where I can't really get excited about a game until I can actually play it. So basically, the Resident Evil 2, I'm really interested to see how that goes. But I can't get super excited for it because I know I'm not going to be able to play it until like the new year. So, E3 stuff. Is there anything that super excited me? No, not really. Maybe Devil May Cry 5. That seems interesting. Look for Brentoni on email. They should be cheap as dirt because they're not part of Warhammer anymore. Was there a question? Board game, yeah. If you find any Brentonian stuff, then yes, that would be also an excellent source of cheap miniatures. I know also a lot of people are actually selling the Massive Darkness stuff for very cheap. So obviously the EM4 stuff, if you're looking for like super cheap stuff, the EM4 stuff, even though it's shipped all the way from the UK, the EM4 stuff is super, super cheap. Like, less than 10 cents per miniature. You can get a bunch of stuff, orcs and nose pup joke. But the Massive Darkness stuff, I actually found these recently as well during the eBay coupon sale. Where, I mean, these were like super cheap. So obviously somebody bought an expansion for Massive Darkness, and wow, that's a really cool miniature. I like that guy. But yeah, no, these were super cheap because this was just loose. So obviously somebody bought the expansion and didn't want it anymore. So yeah. Five Below, yes, they have the Magic the Gathering board game for $5 where you get a lot of miniatures. So if you are interested in painting those, yeah. The Magic the Gathering miniatures, I'm trying to grab one right here if I have one somewhere. See, I already painted a lot of the Magic the Gathering ones. I don't really have. Well, shoot. I thought I had one right here that I could grab out and showcase, but no. But apparently not. I don't know where they all went. I think they're all getting ready for me to paint them, so. Yeah, Magic the Gathering stuff, a lot of cool miniatures. You can see my previous video on there. Where you can showcase a lot of those. Let me just grab one that I painted up. Let me grab one of my favorite one. If you can find the Innistrad one at Five Below. This is one of the Magic the Gathering miniatures that I painted up. Quick painting techniques. Super, super cheap miniature. Looks very nice on the table. Super cool. Very nice. That's $5 for like 20 miniatures. So that's a very good price for those. Yeah, a lot of cool stuff. Favorite low level encounter is probably still cockatrices. I love the cockatrice stuff. Cockatrice stuff is very nice. I love the cockatrice stuff. Kobolds obviously are very fun. I kind of play kobolds a little bit for more of the humor aspect during my games. But kobolds are always fun because they have like these complicated traps. So you can come up with like a half a dozen traps that they might lay down and kind of do the whole thing where it's kind of a random generator to see which trap they laid in which area. Very cool low-level stuff. So kobolds, regular just animals. If you go through the beast sheet, there's a lot of cool like animals. So anything where there's like something causes the animals to be corrupted or evil, there's a lot of really cool just regular, beasts that have cool, like the dire badgers have like cool like burrowing powers and stuff like that. So there's a lot of cool low-level stuff like that you can do. All right, then. Well, that is over 30 minutes, so I'm going to have to say goodbye right now. Yeah, what a weird miniature, because, they're supposed to have all this stuff that kind of sinks into them, so they just kind of walk around, and they grab random stuff, and then just sinks into their, Oh, there are 37 miniatures. Was I thinking of the Innistrad one? Maybe their Innistrad one has 20? 35 miniatures. Dang, that is such a good deal. I'm glad I got that because the Five Below, the Planeswalker ones, that was selling out. So, all right, well, I could talk to you guys for a while more. Unfortunately, I have nothing new to show you right now. I will be back certainly, probably this weekend to show you some more cool stuff, and I'll be having some painting streams as well. And I hope to get some just regular videos coming out here. So if you guys have any questions, save them up for that. And you guys have a very nice evening, and I will see you next time on the stream.